What's up guys, this is Teddy. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This video we're going to be building the register page of our app, and register page is not that much different from our login page. It just has a couple more inputs and most of it's going to be handled by, you guessed it, identity framework. So in this case, we already have our account controller. If you don't have the account controller, you probably want to go to the next video and build that out. I guess you could just have a register button. Wouldn't recommend that. You're gonna want to log in, but what I am going to do is I'm just gonna go up here and copy this down. So you always want to build out your GET request, and then we start working on our post, and we'll just call this one register, and we don't actually want a we don't want to use the login view model, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a register view model. And the way that we do that is we go in here, not that one. Let me see, where are the view models? Okay, right here. So we go in here, go to the new item, click that, register view model. Very simple. And the register view model is going to have an email address. So we're going to authenticate using the email, and that is pretty much standard practice in today's world. A lot of times authentication has a username, but most of the time you're actually logging in with an email address, so that's what we will use. And we're going to have a password. Let me see, where am I at? Okay, right here. And then we want to also have a confirm password. Pretty standard stuff, not very complicated, and we're going to need both of those because you want to have the confirmed password, because you don't want people to create an account and their password be one off, or them accidentally creating an account and they can't log in because maybe they misspelled the password. And if you grew up in the internet age and you're familiar with computers, you probably know how that works, so I'm not going to explain that. So here we're going to have the name. Got our, once again, good practice that we're always putting all of our validation inside the view model. Looks a lot better. Can put it inside the domain, but I wouldn't recommend this, and in this case we don't even have a domain. So that's that. We want to add a required, because when people are, you do not want people to be submitting actual authentication credentials and then be able, that's a definite no. You do not want people to be able to do that and then not be able, then pass in an empty value. That would be terrible. That's something you definitely do not want to do. So we're going to make this validation a little strict. You could always make it strict. I'm sure that there's a security expert out there who thinks it needs to be as strict as possible, but we're going to try and keep it in the middle, if you know what I'm saying. So I'm going to go name, and this one's going to be the confirmed password. And the display, you may be wondering, like, what is the display annotation? Is that whenever this will actually show up on the view. This doesn't actually have anything to do with validation, which is kind of strange, but it just shows up in the view. And the required, once again, is actual validation. Because it's so similar, we can add this down there. Okay, and it's going to also check that it's a data type, and it's also going to do check for the password data type. It's going to represent a password value. And last thing is that need that there because it's a password as well, but also I think Microsoft probably knows that you're going to be every web page is going to have a confirmed password. So it actually made a data, Microsoft actually provided us with a data annotation. And you don't have to worry about these green squiggly lines. I don't know what these green squiggly, if they really just get you just going and you really do not want to see those green squigglies, you could add a question mark there and it will make it go away, but I don't think that's really necessary. In fact, it's probably not a good thing that we make it nullable. I don't know. If somebody knows anything about that, please chime in down below, because I would like to know as well, because it showed up in .NET 6. Like, I don't even know, like, that wasn't even there in .NET 5, and now in .NET 6 we have all these green squiggly underlines. So maybe there's a person out there who's really knowledgeable about that topic and could maybe tell us a little bit about what's going on. And that is pretty much it. And for the controller, and let's go ahead and go into our account and create the register view. So go in here, then we're gonna go, first gonna call this register.cshtml. Go ahead, add that, and then let's go ahead and let's boot it. Let's put this little register right here, and we'll boot it up, see what we have. See if we got this thing working. Okay, it's taking a little bit here. Longer than I thought it would, and longer than it usually does. Huh, okay, so we got an error. Let's see. Oh. Let me just go ahead and close that out. I think I had like two of them running at the same time. And if it still doesn't work, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and close this out and see if that's maybe the issue. And let's go ahead here, let's try it again. Okay, so it worked that time. I don't know. Sometimes it just you just get weird errors like that. And then let's go ahead to the register and see. Okay, so our register is working. And next, let's go ahead into. I actually forgot to do this in the last one, but we're just going to go ahead and go into our view right here, and let's go ahead and wire up the register button so that we can just have a nice little button to click and we don't have to go up into our URL like we were doing. So I'm just gonna copy and paste this in here. Feel free to copy and paste it if you don't want to. If you're a .NET developer, you probably understand how HTML works and how areas work and how these helpers work. So ASP area, you've got your controller right here. It's going to hit the account controller. We don't have areas in this app. That may be something we could do in the future. And then it's going to go ahead and hit this register. And what it's going to do is it's going to go to our account controller and it's going to just execute this code right here, create our view model, and go ahead and put that into the view. And let's go ahead and see here what this looks like. It's not the most beautiful app. This may be something that we could visit in the future and make a little bit better, maybe put like a premium bootstrap theme on it. But right now we just got our login and our registers right here. So go ahead and close that out. And now we need to go ahead and build this actual infrastructure for the controller. So go in here, just like before, and just like literally almost like every single app that we've ever built is we're going to go in here and we're going to actually create the all the guts or all the stuff for the controller, and it's going to be a post. It's going to be register. We've already created our register view model. And IntelliSense already did that for us. So, and just like our previous controller or our login controller, we're going to do the model state. If the model state is not valid, we are going to return the view and then go ahead and toss in that view model. If you don't know what model state is a static class that provides information about, you guessed it, the model state. You know, you're maybe thinking like, well, Teddy, what is model state? That doesn't explain anything. So model state is when you post, or also you can have model state in a GET request, but most likely it's going to be in a post. What's going to happen is the values that you post or you send to this controller or you send to this endpoint is going to be passed in almost physically or logically into this. So just imagine it's coming in through the web page, and it's just the web page is going to insert those values into this function, just kind of like a real function. It's just going to put those values into this. And then it's going to go through here, and your controller is going to gauge, is going to do stuff with these values that it receives from the actual web page. Kind of neat. So we're going to go in here. We're going to go var user is equal to await because it's async. Then we're going to we've already brought in our user manager, and we're going to go find by email async. We're going to go register view model. And then for this one, we don't want to pass in that whole entire value. We could just toss in this, but that's not what this function wants. And I think this is this is kind of off topic, but this is kind of important. You need to be always aware what you're passing in, and the way that you can figure out what needs to be passed into this function is you just hover over it. You look right here, and it's giving us a red squiggly line because we're passing in a whole entire object, and we should just be passing in a string. So how do we just pass in a string? Well, what we do is, look at this. I'd say this is pretty important, so I would pay attention to this. So our register view model is a collection of strings, ints, anything that we choose. You could, in theory, put anything, but it's usually a collection of ints and strings. And right here, we have a string email address. So what we want to do is we want to access this. And because it needs to be a string, we're going to pass in that email address string, and that should do it. So what this find by email async is going to do is it's going to go out to our database. It's going to check in our ASP.NET users. You don't need to actually do any of this. I'm just kind of showing you. It's going to go out here. It's going to check this table, and it's going to try to get this email. If it does have the email, it's going to return a app user. And you can tell what it's going to return by once again hovering over it. So if this is successful, this is what it's going to return. And if we have a user, and this is, there's many different ways that we could do this. You can't have this. You can't say if user is equal to 0, because this is returning an object. An app user, if you look at it here, you can see what it's returning. It's returning it's turning a task app user, but it's really returning an app user. So if we just put app user is equal to 0, if this were returning an int, or if this were returning a false, that could work. But since we're returning an object, it's a null. And if you watch my beginner C# tutorial, you will know that an object is, if there's nothing there, it's a null. And a integer cannot be null. So, and a bool cannot be null. If that didn't make sense, please go back and watch, because this is really watch my video on the difference between a reference type and a value type. Because if you don't know the difference between those, you're going to have a really bad time in programming, because that's what happened to me. Nobody explained these things to me, and I didn't do good for a long time. Okay, so if the user is not equal to null, in this case, that is bad. So if there already is a user in there, we don't want to create another one. And then if there already is, it's going to say this email address is already in use, and it's going to return back the view model and the web page. If it's not, we want to create a new user. So we're going to go here, we're going to go app user, we're going to go down. Those values that we just passed into the register view model. So we're going to go email address. We're going to go username. We're going to go register view model dot email address. And in this case, we will just give the username. We'll set the username as the email address. This isn't probably the best, but in this case, it's probably better, because if somebody tries to log in with the username, they'll probably just use their email. And I think that that's probably a better case. And this is a very small app. What you would do, if a lot of this stuff, if you design an app and it really starts taking off, you're probably going to have to start worrying about this stuff later. But another thing is that this is kind of like an MVP. Like, I'm kind of like building like a small app just to test out and see if like people actually want it. A lot of times you just want to get you don't want to spend a lot of time on an MVP. You want to get that MVP done as quickly as possible and get it out the door. There's a lot of people who would say that you want to start worrying about scale, but you don't even want to worry about scale. You just want to code and, either get a job and, worry about that stuff later. And there's not a lot of reasons to sit around and worry about scale when maybe you're a newbie programmer and you're just trying to get a first job. So I'll get off my soapbox. Go in here, we're going to go user roles, and we're going to go user. And because this person is just a regular user, if you want to create an admin, you would probably create a specific admin portal and give people the ability to add roles. But because this is just a user, and specifically for people who are not admins, we're going to create an add to role async, and we're going to make this person a user and not give them abilities to create and destroy things, or the ability to kind of like ruin your life, if that makes sense. Okay, so we've got here. So if we complete it, let's just go ahead and return back to the home page. So we'll go home. And then also let's go ahead, while we're here, let's go ahead and wire up our logout as well. So we'll go HTTP post, public async, we're going to go task, action result. Then we're going to go log out. We're going to go await. Go sign in manager. Go sign out async. We don't even have to do hardly any coding. And then if we log out, we want to go to our race page. Great. So we've already got that built. Let's go ahead in here. Let's go to our register. let's see. Let's try to register. And just for time and brevity's sake, I am going to go in here. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. We're going to go at using. Then I'm going to go here. Then we will go to put in those view models. Make sure we bring that into the actual web page. Looking good. Then we also need to specify the actual model because this web page does not automatically know. Maybe one day it might. Then, of course, we got our view data up here. We have our title. And we're getting some IntelliSense errors right here. Got that. So view bag title, view data title. Right here, sign up. We'll just call this one sign up. Don't know what that was. Actually just disappeared for some reason, and I have no idea why. Okay, so the last thing that we want to do is we want to toss in all this HTML. So we're going to go here, go ahead, toss in this HTML. Let me see. That's supposed to be the race controller. Go here. So that's just our cancel button. Essentially what's happening here is we have our form. This is just a regular form. This isn't anything crazy. But what makes this different is that it's ASP.NET and we have these tag helpers, or I think they're just called HTML helpers, tag helpers, HTML helpers. But our ASP action, this is going to specify the post endpoint that we're going to send this form action to, and it's going to be our ASP.NET action. It's going to be register. We have our validation summary. So if we have any validation or error issues, it will show them right here. We also have specific validation for each property. And these actually match up to the view model. So the ASP4 is going to, once again, this is going to match up with the view model. We've got our label, we've got our input, and we've got our confirmed password. Really not that much different from our login, and that should be it. So we will go in here, go ahead. See, got our register, which is looking good. Then let's go into our account controller and kind of step through this and make sure that it is working correctly. So we're going to have a test at gmail.com, and let's go ahead and give this one of the passwords for the seed. So we're going to go here. We're going to take this one. We're going to have coding at 1234. And that's the password we're going to give. And we're going to go ahead and pass that down. And we're going to have test at Gmail. So we're going to go sign up. Okay, so go ahead, hover over this register view model. Make sure that these are being passed in. So we have our confirmed password. We have our email address. Looking good. Model state is valid. Awesome. So we're going, first what it's going to do is go out to our database and see if we have an email address with test@gmail.com. If you want to see where these values are coming from or what's kind of being held, you can just hover over them, and test@gmail is being checked. So this is null. And if it is not null, it's going to give us that error, but there is not anything there, so it should continue. Did continue. So now we're creating a new user object, and this is going to be our app user object. If you look at it, we've got all this right here, and you may be wondering, well, Teddy, there's no username here. The username is actually in the identity user, so it's being inherited, and we can actually see here, if we go into the identity user, it will, let me see, give us all of that. So yeah, it's all in there. It's being multiple layers of inheritance is being used. So pretty cool. So we're going down. It's going to create that object. It's going to create that new user. We've got our new user here. And hopefully it should work. The statement has been terminated. So because column ID, addresses. Okay. What is going on here is that there needs to be an address for this, and because there is no column in here, or because there is no data that's being inserted into the address column, it's giving us an error for that app user. So what we want to do is we want to go to our app user, and we're going to actually make this nullable. We're going to make this so that we actually don't have to actually provide that address. So we go in here. I'm going to see if this will work. If it doesn't work, I'm going to have to go back and do a migration, which is going to suck, but it's just kind of part of the process. But I'm going to see if this will work. If not, I will have to go back and, so we're going to go test at Gmail. Let me see here. That should be our password. Let me see here. So we're going to go down. Go null. Create user. Okay. Cannot insert null value into the column address ID, because it does not allow nulls. And what we need to do is actually go into the database, and I'm going to see if I can make this just nullable, or if I can allow this actual column to be nullable. So we're going to go into properties. Let me see. So allow nulls. Okay. And I can't go into the database directly like this, so I'm going to have to apply another migration. And like I said, this is not ideal, but it is kind of it's just something that you're going to have to deal with. Like this happens all the time in development. So I'm going to go into here, and I'm going to go into the package. So package manager console, add migration. And we're going to do a very quick migration. So okay, so we got migration, add migration, package manager console. So go here, we're gonna go add migration, and we will call this null address fix. Okay, then we're gonna go database update, database, or update database, update database. Great. So let's go ahead, let's run it. That was kind of annoying, but it happens. So we're gonna go here, we're gonna go test, and go back. We're going to take this password again, just reuse this password, paste that in there. Let's go ahead and do the sign up. go down. Please, God, work. Thank you, God. Whew. Okay, so live bug fix just happened. That was intense. And home was not found. So a better way to actually redirect this, let's just go here and we're going to redirect this to where the actual races are, and it should be still good. So we'll go ahead and restart this thing. That was stressful. I'm not even gonna lie, that was a little stressful. So we're gonna go here and we're just gonna give this a test just to see if this thing works. And we are going to give it the same password. So go here, go down. Awesome. Okay. Index was not found. Let me see here. Okay. Actually, this needs to be a redirect. So we'll go in here. We'll go to the redirect. Test this thing one more time. Go here. Paste those passwords again. Just see if we can get this thing to create. Go down. It's gonna create a new role. Yep, and it went ahead and it worked. Awesome. Anyway, that is going to be our register page. The next thing that we are going to work on next is going to be our dashboard. Hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and as always, thank you for watching.